very good evening and welcome. Happy New Year to you, all our viewers, and for supporting the Fourth Estate over the years. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to all the guests that I have in the studio as I introduce you. Starting with the lady, Mary Motesi. She's the Deputy Head of Media and Publicity in the National Resistance Movement campaign for the February 18th elections. Very nice to have you, Mary.
Thank you, my brother. Happy New Year to all Ugandans. Happy New Year to the viewers, and Happy New Year to you, my brother.
Thank you. Severino Twinobusinje. He's been identified more as a lawyer for Amama Mbabazi of the Go Forward team, or JPAM as they call him. Severino, very nice to have you. You've been a guest here before. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, and to all our viewers. Happy New Year, and we hope 2016 will be a prosperous and peaceful year for everyone.
And finally, from the Forum for Democratic Change, Harold Kaija. Harold, you're a candidate, but also Deputy Secretary General of the party.
Yeah.
Very nice to have you.
And also the flag bearer of the FDC for MP Campus Central.
We'll bill you for that.
Happy New Year. And you're putting the also. When I had the also, I had to punctuate. I want to wish you a Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all our viewers here, both here in Uganda and the diaspora. They always watch this program, always get the feedback. We wish them a good 2016 of change.
Thank you. We are looking the biggest events, this being the first show of the year 2016, the biggest event of the year 2015 and now 2016, apart from the visit of Pope Francis, is the election that will take place on February 18th. So counting down, today being the 3rd, we are counting less than 50 days to that election.
Yes.
We have selected for the Fourth Estate, the maiden show of the year, to have the 3 camps of the front runners in that election. And this is no disrespect for the other candidates, especially Venantius Beriamureba, Benon Biraro, Maureen Chalia, Mabirizi, and Dr. Abed Bonica. We'll have an opportunity to have some of your representatives come and join us in this discussion. We'll be discussing the threat of violence in the 2016 February 18th elections. Is that a real threat? Incidents we have seen so far, the rhetoric of the candidates, the reactions of the institutions of government to this threat of violence, and the various campaign teams and how they are positioning themselves. I want to start with asking a very broad question. One of the ugliest incidents of this election so far were the scenes we saw late last year of a campaign rally of Amama Mbabazi in Ntungamo and people who are alleged to have been members of the National Resistance Movement, supporters, and some were told are crime preventers. As a matter of fact, I am verifying, I think the bounty put by the police on Aine, the head of the Amama Mbabazi campaign team, I mean security team, is that the correct description, Mr. Twinobusinje?
Correct.
Of 20 million shillings, because he's being treated now as a criminal suspect, not as a citizen who has gone missing, is the highest bounty that has been put on anybody the police have been looking for. The threat of violence. We have seen supporters or the brigade of Amama Mbabazi carrying sticks, and what they did in Ntungamo suggests that violence is actually possible. It can only explode even bigger. The presence of either crime preventers or supporters of the National Resistance Movement in your own camp, what is your assessment? Was this an isolated incident, or is this an incident that can actually escalate into something bigger?
Thank you, Charles. Ntungamo incident. Were this a brigade or not? Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi has no brigade, and he does not intend to have one because it is not necessary. What was seen in Ntungamo with the people carrying sticks, these are supporters of NRM who came carrying sticks. Some of them are crime preventers who came carrying sticks specifically to disrupt Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi's rally.
Mr. Twinobusinje, supporters of NRM could not have come to beat themselves up, to beat their colleagues up. They were beaten. Those at least that the police went to rescue, if I can use the police word, to rescue, were people who were being beaten by what we know for now are supporters of Amama Mbabazi.
Let me put it into context. They came with sticks, they came with petrol to burn Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi. Unfortunately, they were not well prepared. They were disarmed, and everything else is history.
Who disarmed them?
The supporters of Amama Mbabazi disarmed these people.
How?
They had sticks, they were disarmed, and they used sticks to defend themselves against the attackers. That was simply a repulsion of an attack. Pure and simple. That is what happened.
In the broader scheme of things,
yes,
what does the Ntungamo incident say about the apparent fear that follows every election of violence in this February 18th election?
So, but before I come to the broader part of it, let me first put this into context. They started from Rubale. Somebody came, the supporter of NRM, came with a jerrycan of petrol and matchsticks to burn Right Honorable Mbabazi with the petrol. He was arrested by the people and he was handed over to the police. We hope the police should have prepared a report and produced this person in court. It has not, but that was there. They went to Chitwe, they prepared a roadblock to block Right Honorable Mbabazi from carrying out his campaign. That roadblock was also removed, but there was no major incident of violence. They continued. When they reached Ntungamo, they said, we think this man cannot be allowed to hold a rally in Ntungamo, which is the heart of this action.
Regime.
But they forgot that Right Honorable Mbabazi was supposed to be in Ntungamo that day, according to the calendar of the Electoral Commission. So when he started his campaign, they came with the sticks specifically to disrupt. They were disarmed, the sticks were taken away from them, and they were simply repaired. I don't know why people continue to say that they were beaten. They were repaired, and what was done to them...
Mr. Tinobusinje,
just a second. What was done to them...
Ugandans watching this show and people in the diaspora, as Harold said, whoever is watching this show, possibly saw what happened in Ntungamo.
Yes.
There was a fight.
There was a fight.
Yes. Repulsion of an attack might take us into English semantics. My question to you was, the threat of violence in this election, using Ntungamo as a case study, how high is it? What's your assessment in the party?
So the question is, what were they looking for in Amama Mbabazi's rally? Amama Mbabazi does not stop people from FDC or even NRM to come to attend his rally. But if you come to attend, sit and listen. But if you come with the sticks to disrupt, then they have the capacity to disarm you and put you in your right place. That is precisely what happened.
So
actually,
and what is that right place?
The right place is what you saw. What was seen is obvious.
Breaking legs and...
Yes. You see, the force that was used to deal with them was consistent with the force that they used. These are innocent people standing and listening to a candidate, and these are guys carrying sticks and pangas coming to disrupt them. Was the repulsion, in your view, spontaneous? Or was it of an organized team that actually was ready to deal with the threat of an attack like happened? This repulsion was spontaneous, but also to put it into a broader perspective, it is important for whoever is planning violence to know that Ugandans are prepared for it. At any time it happens, they are prepared to react.
Some of us are having difficulty because former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi still says he's a member of the NRM, although he's running as an independent candidate. So the distinction between supporters of Amama Mbabazi is not that clear.
Yes.
I'm also alive to the fact that in a race for any election, no candidate goes for their supporters. They go to win the support of everybody. Ntungamo was the ugliest scene we have seen so far of this election. And the fate of Aine, which maybe we'll talk about later, is a cause for concern for everybody.
Yes.
Whatever the outcome of it will be a blot on this election. In your own assessment, looking at Ntungamo, the fear of violence, was that an isolated incident? Is there a likelihood that there could be more similar?
Number one, I want to say this from the onset, that conflict is very natural and is very normal. Even by the set of campaigns, merely by having a campaign, it's a conflictual situation. A football match is a conflictual situation. The only difference is how you manage that conflict, because already we have conflicting ideas. And now, at the time of management, that's when it grows and goes to the violence level. But talking about the Ntungamo scenario, number one, Ntungamo, the facts and the pictures that were broadcasted by NTV were very clear. If we are to go by the pictures that we watched, there is no justification whatsoever for anyone becoming violent. And this is the message of the NRM. The message of the NRM is that the greatest achievement that we've achieved as a country, be it an opposition person, be it a pro-government person, is that we've achieved the peace and the freedom to do whatever we want to do. There is no situation whatsoever that warrants us to actually undo that achievement. So I think it is incumbent upon any one of us supporting a candidate or someone who is doing their private work to actually safeguard that.
And you say that, just a moment, and, yes. You say that, yes. And you, either as a party organized centrally or at some level, deploy people at a rival candidate's rally? What was their business at that rally? Dressed in your
it can be colors. Interpreted in very different ways, and that's exactly the scenario you've tried to draw. That Mbabazi himself positions himself as still an NRM member. Of course,
but
within the law, it is of course erroneous for him even to position himself like that, because there is no law in Uganda that can say allows two candidates to come from a political party for a position. He's an independent candidate, yes. And that justifies the presence of anybody, whichever color they are putting on. Because actually it is Maureen Chalia, who was in the States, who wrote and tweeted and even put on her Facebook and said, in all this, I blame Mbabazi, because he should remember that he is an independent candidate, he has no political party, and whoever goes to him should be looked at as a person, as a force, as a group that's willing to listen to him. But also let's put the facts right. Because that rally of Mama Mbabazi that Severino is talking about, yes. Let me just finish this. It was in a place called Ichamate, approximately 2 kilometers away from Ntungamo Center. What happened on the screens of NTV and the reporter that was on base is that this violence happened in Ntungamo, and even the pictures showed so well that it was a marketplace. The interviews thereafter from the people who were victims of the violence actually show that somebody just tricked them, told them, you know what, your president is coming today, we were not aware, let's go and show support. So it shows that it was something prearranged by a group that wanted to unleash this violence.
To mitigate against violence, yes. In any election situation, we need to stick to the facts.
Yes.
The Mama Mbabazi has said, and complained to the Electoral Commission, sent a complaint to the International Criminal Court,
yes.
Spoken to Ugandans, Severino and his team of colleagues, lawyers, have spoken out.
Yes.
There have been repeat incidents of provocation. You said an election itself, a contest of any nature,
yes.
is a conflictual or potential conflictual situation.
Yes.
The incident in Fort Portal, when a plane
landed,
branded with campaign labeling of candidate Yoweri Museveni,
yes.
landed at a venue where Mbabazi was holding a rally. The incident in Ntungamo was clearly of people dressed in the colors of your candidate, the portrait of President Yoweri Museveni, at a rally of a rival candidate. We can't draw from as what looks like far away, 15 years ago, the incident at Bulange Mengo, involving a deputy RDC, with a car branded with President Yoweri Museveni's President Museveni's posters, into a crowd of Kizza Besigye supporters. Clearly, there is evidence that either overtly or covertly, your camp is supporting these provocations.
It cannot be that, because officially nobody has come out even to say that that's our campaign strategy. And the message of my candidate, President Yoweri Museveni, it has been very clear: maintain peace. And
Is that what he said?
He has, what he has actually insisted, let me finish what he said. He has insisted on his supporters. He's actually to say, you people, I don't want to see any of you actually beat up each other.
At his press conference in Mbale, when he said, if you put a finger in some words I don't want to use on national TV, and he said, you attack NRM supporters.
Yes.
You attack NRM supporters?
Yes.
It can't happen.
Now, let's put that, let's put that statement into context. Yes. Let's put that into context. What you're saying, the old Joe proverb that's used in traditional African sayings, he was reacting to what he saw. Because the likes of Severino, what he said, it's what you're fearing to say. But he said exactly that. But, you know, his reaction was to those who were actually promoting it. Because from the words of even my brother Severino, he says, indeed, they should know that Ugandans are ready to unleash. And that is where I come in and say, there is no situation whatsoever that justifies violence. Whoever is claiming to have been provoked and whoever is provoking, they are both in the wrong.
No,
we should not promote that.
Yes, I see two things. From the words of Severino,
yes,
from your words,
yes,
and the words of your presidential candidate,
yes,
especially, is people were saying, you hold certain strong positions, you're confident about your camps, you do not care whether Ugandans kill each other over who gets elected. I mean, the president said, you cannot attack NRM supporters. He did not say, desist from violence, whether you are my supporters or supporters of another candidate. He used that proverb, putting a finger in the, I'll borrow someone, in the behind of a leopard, and you know the reaction. And there was the joke about that. But the seriousness of this situation is that we are in a country that has been prone to violence since independence, or maybe even since before independence. We saw an ugly election in neighboring Kenya. 2007, December 2007. We have seen what's happening in neighboring Burundi over violence. We saw what happened in Rwanda. And people are saying, is the message of preparation? And that's where I want to come to Harold Kaija.
Charles, I wanted
creation of, I'll come to you, Mr. Severino, in a moment. Creation of brigades, squads, is something we have seen repeated over a period of time. It appears that covertly and overtly, the different camps are actually preaching a message of violence. Is there a possibility that this election can be held, can end peacefully, like it has been for the large part, apart from Ntungamo?
Thank you, Charles. I've always thought that, told colleagues that the person who holds the key to the end of violence is Mr. Museveni. As I said earlier, his proverbs, when she talked about peace, I love, you know, speaking for defending Mr. Museveni is not an easy thing. She's a very good spokesperson, but defending a very bad client.
I thought you should defend your client.
Exactly. So, when you look at the situation on the ground, you look at what Mr. Museveni says, I'll go to the bush. I can't hand over power. I don't trust these guys. In a situation whereby we live in a situation whereby you have a leader who has no time of expiry, it is bound to cause that. The good thing, you've showed us how violence has been in the past elections. I remember in 2010, we were in Gomba with Dr. Besigye, campaigning for flag bearership. A guy jumped on over the bonnet with a pistol. He came, sat with a chair. We thought, I think this guy had come to listen. We didn't know the guy was holding a chair. Remember when he was talking about
holding a gun.
The selling of the Choga, Lake Choga. The guy jumped over. It is me who jumped from around 3 meters and pulled the guy. He wanted to shoot at him. And the police was standing there just watching. I had expected after the Ntungamo incident, the Electoral Commission to give a statement warning the NRM. I had expected Mr. Museveni to be apologetic. To take it to the scene, the footage you have, I saw a Prado that came and parked. it brought out T-shirts, started giving them out. I'm told it belongs to some senior colleague in the NRM who comes from Kigezi. What was that meant for? The reason why we have this program is to know today Mr. Museveni is in this district. Today Dr. Besigye is in a particular district. The other day, so that we have no collusion. We welcome anybody to come on a given rally as somebody listening. But these were gangs prepared.
But you're the teams that are actually preparing these squads.
No.
You have given them names like vote protection squads. You have Solidar, TJ Solidar. You have all sorts of congregations.
But you see, in a situation...
And someone watching from outside is asking themselves, what is the actual intention here?
No,
and when you see an explosion like we saw in Intungamo, people step back and ask, is this where we actually headed?
No, Charles.
Can it get worse?
Charles, in a country where the country's IGP speaks a language that is similar to the NRM, in a country now today, if you went and had a rally near Serena and there is a school, you're going to find the police guarding there. The other day, police stopped other presidential candidates from going to church. On the 31st, Mr. Museveni prayed in around 5 locations of churches. That is what?
6 churches.
That now 6. That's all right.
But Dr. Besigye prayed in a church in Masindi.
In Masindi.
Yes.
But after praying in Masindi, Isi came out and said, you must not go to what?
No, he prayed after that.
You must not go to church.
He was there after that.
So in that kind of situation, and you find these crime preventers that are being paraded.
Can you account for your own part? Do you, as FDC, have either brigades or squads?
No, what we have, because, NRM regime is known for vote rigging. Even when you talk to an NRM person one-on-one, even they have had on rallies, Mr. Museveni saying...
Can you answer my question, please? My question is, what do you have? You're trying to explain it before you say
what we have are teams that are going to do one thing: mobilize for votes, gun cast votes, and protect the votes.
Can you name some of those teams?
Power 10.
Power 10. What is Power 10?
Power 10 is a group of 10 people that start at the parish level. Every 10, it's like in a multiplier. Every person in the 10 gun gets 10 voters. Because one, you must be a voter. Not somebody with muscles. You must be a voter. We get your name and your voter number. In that, it is helping us that at the end before the elections, we know the number of voters that in a particular area that are going to vote for candidate Besigye and the FDC team.
Hold it there. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'll come back to you to ask what kind of formations you have within the Go Forward team and what kind of formations you have within the National Resistance Movement. We'll be right back. You're still watching The Fourth Estate, and we're discussing the threat of violence in the February 18th elections. Can violence be averted? But how can it be averted if all the teams are creating some formations, given different names, but actually that appear like squads that are supposed to counter the threat of violence from one another? Severino, you wanted something just before you took the break?
Yes.
You wanted to actually speak to when Mary was speaking.
I want to speak to my very good sister,
Maria.
Maria says there is no law that allows an independent to claim to belong to a political party. I'm sure she's trying to refer to the laws of Uganda. It is very unfortunate that Maria thinks like that and she acts that way. For all who don't understand, I can tell you that Amama Mbabazi is a founder member of NRM. Amama Mbabazi, even in the current constitution of NRM, is listed in the constitution of NRM as the founder. I'm sure Mary is not there. She's not in that constitution. The law of NRM itself in the constitution of NRM, for you to belong to NRM, you don't have to put on its t-shirt. You don't have to have its NRM card. All you need to do is to believe in it. So Mbabazi, as the founder and the believer of NRM, is a member of NRM. And I can assure Mary and those who think like her that nobody will take away that thought from him because he founded it. 2, in Ntungamo, just a second.
Just before you go to two, we need to dispense with one issue before we go to the next issue. The laws that you're referring to, including the NRM Constitution, and the Presidential Elections Act, says a party can only field one candidate, and the NRM has selected President Yoweri Museveni as its flag bearer.
Yes.
These are both nominated candidates.
Yes.
So taking back us to that history may not help much. The question is, where you're going in Ntungamo, threat of violence. Do you have formations within the Go Forward team that look like either Tija Solida, which belongs actually to one of the camps within the DP, Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago and his team, and Power 10?
No, Power 10.
Yes. Do you have similar kind of
okay, for all those who think and who ask similar question that you ask, Mr. Amama Mbabazi does not have, in his Go Forward, we do not have a thing like that. TJ, P10, we do not have it. What you saw in Ntungamo is a spontaneous reaction of the people of Uganda who are tired of violence, people being admitted into violence. That is what you saw.
What does the gentleman Aine, who is currently missing,
Point
lead?
number 2.
Just a moment.
Point number 2.
What does Aine lead? He's been presented by yourself at that press conference you held, and by the communication that has come from the Go Forward team, as the head of the security team of Amama Mbabazi. In what capacity?
Yes, Amama Mbabazi has a right to defend himself.
Yes.
So if I decide to ask you, Charles, my elder brother, and that one and this one, to stand by me and defend me, I haven't formed you into a security organization. So at whatever rally where you go, wherever you go, wherever you see Mbabazi, there are thousands and thousands of hyenas in those people you see. Ugandans who are not mobilized, who are not trained, who are simply ready to defend what they believe in. If that is what you want to call, that is what it is. Wherever he is, you will always find those people there who are ready to defend the man they love to death, if you want it to get it that way. Point number 2.
Yes, sure.
Point number 2. NRM has got a presidential candidate called His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Granted, there is no dispute. But within NRM, there are so many people who have stood independent and they remain so. And it is their constitutional right. It does not matter what rhetoric you use to describe it. It won't take away that constitutional right within the laws of Uganda. And I'm speaking straight to my sister, Mary here, and those who think like her.
Plot 10 Chad on the road.
Yes, and those who think like her. I'm speaking to them. That's another point. 2, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni he sat at a press conference somewhere in eastern Uganda, and he said, you can't attack NRM. It is true, we cannot attack NRM. Why attack NRM? NRM supporters who support Yoweri Museveni have a right to go and canvass and look for his votes wherever they can get it. It is their legal and constitutional right. We cannot do that. The same way, members of NRM should not and they should desist from attacking people. Mbabazi and his people were in Ntungamo on the day gazetted by the Electoral Commission. They were attacked by members of NRM. And they exercised their constitutional right to repel that attack. Using the force, my sister wait, using the force equal to the attack. And all other things that you saw. That's point number 1.
Just a second. Can try to bring all the legal jargon.
Just a second.
Using
when my sister was talking, I was listening.
Is how we calculate political situations is not the way we do the legal jargon.
Charles, can I be protected and I finish my argument?
Is that there are so many theories. There are so many. Let me just interject. Yes. There are so many theories to the Ntungamo thing. Number 1, that it could be possible that even those who are putting on T-shirts were solicited by their team, just to bring up that. Number 2, it is also possible that they were ardent supporters of President Yoweri Museveni who were actually hoodwinked, like they say, the aftermath interviews when they say, somebody came and told us we are going to receive our president. And that's why the underlying message that you, Severino, anybody should be giving out to Ugandans, especially in this 2016, is that there is no reason whatsoever that justifies violence, whether you were mobilizing. Because what I try to put across is that from the pictures on the screen show that actually the iron bars and the sticks that were used were actually offloaded from a pickup. Can you justify somebody called the Jaji Ankalubo from Salama Road here, who was seen beating up those people in Ntungamo? Because it wasn't even Ntungamo people against Ntungamo people. It was a ferried squad that went to terrorize people. So and we know these people, we can identify them on camera.
Are you telling our viewers
yes.
that actually the violence is not even localized?
It is not localized.
It's being exported.
It was exported. It was exported. And that's why we can identify and say that's Jajan Karuo. He drives a boda at Salama Road here. People know him. And these are the people that we are saying,
but Harold talked about a supporter
yes.
of President Yoweri Museveni who provided a vehicle that was seen moving and distributing campaign materials of President Yoweri Museveni at a rally of an opponent.
But you see, Charles, what I want to agree with on principle, let me agree with everyone on principle. Number one, that when there is a schedule of a candidate to be in a particular area, it doesn't warrant the appearance of another. But also we have another complicated situation that merely by Kizza Besigye being in Amuru, it doesn't stop the local mobilization for candidate Yoweri Museveni.
Yeah, but you didn't account for Tumukunde in Sokoto.
Yeah, but that one was well explained, and even EC intervened.
You haven't accounted.
No,
you haven't accounted.
It was. I remember your team actually ran, and it appeared. It appeared that actually at that time, Mama Mbabazi had changed
we wanted to have
and he hadn't filed with all the other.
We wanted to have this discussion, not between the institutions. So the Electoral Commission is not here, the police is not here. So institutionally, we don't have people speaking for those institutions. They have a lot to account on their own.
Charles, I can explain.
We are discussing with camps of the various camps.
Charles,
Mary was just interjecting.
Yes, Mary interjected me. You see, the violence that we have seen being exported by NRM across the whole country is not only localized in Ntungamo. You have correctly stated what General Tumukunde did in Fort Portal with that plane. By the way, we advise him to stop doing those things. It's not a good idea. He should not take it again to disrupt another rally.
Well, it was not a good idea. He was a very possible
No, it was intended to go and disrupt. Members had already assembled and he went and disrupted it. We saw it happen in Kasese. We have seen it in Fort Portal, as I said, yes, the other day in Dokoro. You saw people having bayonets, members of NRM having bayonets, having sticks, standing at a rally. You could clearly see the police, the DPC of that area ordered the police to shoot live bullets at our candidate. They shot tear gas into his own car, and they did all that. So you can see clearly that the violence is going on. And I think this is consistent with what the president said. He said, you can't attack NRM. For heaven's sake, we can't attack NRM. We have no reason to. This is a political contest. So tell your people of NRM to stop disrupting. Really, the pattern of disruption is widespread and it is systematic from the position of NRM.
Let me go back to the broader question to you, Harold. The concern is election should not be a do or die thing.
Exactly.
They should be a civil exercise.
Right.
Where people exercise their right to choose whoever they want to choose. Losers should accept.
That is it.
If they have lost genuinely, winners should accept with humility that they were not supported by everybody.
Yep.
But from listening to the discussion here, I wonder how many Ugandans watching us out there are getting scared on what February will bring. How does that get mitigated? Are you people in the FDC discussing and finding ways to make sure that the election is peaceful?
Actually, if you listen to the message of Dr. Besigye, I've been moving on the ground trying to get feelers from what Ugandans out there, both here and abroad, of the situation. People are really scared of what will happen. The talks of Mr. Museveni are very scaring. Seems not to give in. Seems to say, I must be here. Actually, people were asking me, why did he allow to have an election when actually he must win? Because where we have an election. So, for us in the FDC, what we've decided, you've heard Dr. Besigye saying that if we eventually win, you tell Mr. Museveni, let him relax.
I've also heard...
We shall give him a very good exit.
I have also heard...
Mr.
Kaija, I have also heard Dr. Besigye say right from the onset of this campaign that his campaign is not a campaign of compliance, but rather one of defiance. And people have been asking, interpreting the word defiance.
And he has gone ahead.
Defying what?
And he has gone ahead to explain the defiance. as Severino was telling you, if I'm supposed to have a rally in Tungam, and you come and say you shouldn't have it, should you say yes? We are defying the illegalities of the regime.
What is the consequence of saying I am supposed to have a rally in Tungamo and I must have it, whether you say I should or shouldn't have?
Because you see,
Charles, is what is fine in Tungamo.
Charles,
yes.
We must not give Mr. Museveni and his group a leeway. Say that whatever they do is right. You saw recently when we were in West Nile, when we had an accident, and people were taken to the hospital, and the DPs, because all DPs are graduates, and the guy refused people from getting to the hospital. You see people dying. You say it's right? The right thing to do is to defy, get to the hospital, the person gets what? First aid, and then go to jail.
What is the possibility, in your view, Mr. Kaija, that next month's election will be peaceful?
As I told you earlier.
Let me tell you, Charles.
Can you just make the point?
No, as I told you earlier, we can have peace if Mr. Museveni wills.
If he doesn't?
If he doesn't. Because as I just told you, if I lose, I go back to the what? To the bush. Neither my camp, neither his or his camp have said we are going to do what? To fight.
Thank you.
For us, we are actually telling people that we are having this, prepare for change and a good change.
Thank you.
But I think
you've made your point. Let me ask Mr. Tunov-Sinje, what is the possibility that next month's election can actually be peaceful? What would it take to have a peaceful election?
Let me tell you, the formula is simple. You see, we have got a militia called crime preventers. In fact, when you ask FDC or you ask Go Forward why we have militias, you are asking the wrong group. Ask Mutesi to tell you why they have the crime preventers. We have Uganda. You can answer.
Let me answer that.
You will answer when I finish. We have got Uganda People's Defense Forces. We have got institutions such as ISO and ESO. We have got Uganda Police and all its departments that deal with keeping law and order. To us, these are sufficient, and there is even a legal provision for them. The emergence of crime preventers who are putting on NRM t-shirts and who are working for NRM, who are always actually passed out at national functions wearing NRM t-shirts, is extremely worrying. So, who has the key to bringing peace on the voting day? Remove crime preventers from the whole thing. Let the election be peaceful. And the hands of people who can do that is NRM. Just keep away the crime preventers, because they have no business in the entire electoral process. First of all, it is an illegal creation. It is not backed by any law in Uganda, neither the constitution, nor any written or unwritten law in Uganda. It's not backed.
No, currently,
it is an illegal formation.
Currently,
yes.
My young brother in Wakiso was telling me that militia, they are moving with a voters register. Fake ones. They say, Charles, it's very unfortunate you're not going to vote. You're not in the register. Where does that illegal militia get the power to start holding what? Voters register.
But Charles,
so now you're saying
we have one person from the NRM. Yes.
Let me just interject. For the record, crime preventers are not a creation of the NRM as a party.
Who owns them?
The best person to answer, and who has been explaining all this time about crime preventers, is the IGP. I think for the whole of this year, but also when you want to understand crime preventers, why don't you ask members from the opposition who have participated in the training of these people? Odonga Oto was in Cavalier addressing these crime preventers. The leader of opposition in parliament was in Cavalier. He went there. They were addressing crime preventers. So why doesn't these two camps actually verify from their people why they got involved?
Are crime preventers trained at the police training institution in Cavalier?
I don't know. I say
no. It's because I told you the leader of opposition went to Cavalier to address police recruits.
They were crime preventers.
No, unless if you are sure, if
and
you are
the
told.
record is very right.
Can you answer?
Even he was called by IGP when you people made so much noise about crime preventers. He said no, but even people of opposition
can you help? Can you help us?
But from what I collected from his explanation, that these are people to beef up community policing, and that is
of all of us,
they
the
were
NRM,
not a militia of the NRM as a party.
Of all of us here, the NRM is the closest to the government to help us understand. So who are crime preventers? Why were they recruited? There is a formal process that recruits into the Uganda People's Defense Force and its various units. There is a formal process that recruits into the Uganda Police.
Yes.
There is a formal process that recruits into the Uganda Prison Service.
Okay.
Which process recruits under what law, under what mandate are crime preventers?
Can
Recruited,
I recommend something?
Trained, facilitated or paid? Why are they necessary? Because if you need to expand the size of the police, you expand the size of the police. Why create a unit called crime preventers?
Well, this is the first fourth estate you're having this year, isn't it? I would recommend that in the next fourth estate, you invite the IGP or the police spokesperson or the deputy. They are people who are meant to speak for that institution. I speak for the NRM, and the message is very clear. We don't have a militia. You had earlier asked a question. What are the formations that we have? Our structures are well known. Even the campaign structure is known. We have SEC, we have NEC, we have all those district structures, and even within the mobilization, that is what we are using.
You have mobilization teams?
Yes, we are mobilizing using our structures away from the national task force that some of us we are, you know. But the structures are well known and they are well laid up within the political party as a political party. We've not trained any militia. Apart from the crime preventers that they are talking about, which I said that is solely
when I hear Mary,
the work and the job of the IGP.
He wants to treat Uganda as if they're ignorant of the situation.
No. They are not ignorant. They are not ignorant. And I'm setting the record very clear.
We know who are they.
I want somebody to table evidence here and say crime preventers are a militia trained by the NRM party. You can talk about them putting on T-shirts when they are passing out. I mean, this is normal. Even in Tanzania, you cannot run away from anyone putting on Julius Nyerere T-shirts. Anywhere, people will try to show their love.
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
Do you contradict yourself when you say at one moment that members of the opposition, the leader of opposition, has addressed crime preventers at a training in Cavalier, and then in the very next sentence you say you do not know who the crime preventers are?
No, my statement is very, it doesn't contradict.
Doesn't it sound
It doesn't contradict.
Doesn't it sound strange to you?
It's fire. It's fire. It's my moment. You know, it doesn't contradict in any way. I know they are crime preventers like any other Uganda. But the record I'm setting very clear, and for the viewers of this show, is that NRM as a political party has not trained any militia. The structures are well known. And I put it, and even direct you where you should get even more information. I recommend that you host the IGP, you host the spokespersons of
Let me interject a
police.
little.
They can help you.
Please interject briefly because we need to take a break.
Before, actually on the day of the nomination of candidate Museveni, and actually after the nomination, we saw footages on TV. We heard on radio when crime preventers who were brought to come and beef up the numbers at Kororo were actually making noise, lamenting for having brought and not paid. Where would somebody being prepared to be neutral in a society come to beef up a nomination rally?
And let me also pose a question at that level. Let me
I'm finishing up so that you answer.
Yes.
They were brought by police because they said so, and said, we are here to come and be part of this one. As they were brought, they were being put, they were putting on candidate Museveni in yellow. The yellow is for NRM party.
Well, let me just clarify something.
Let
me just put something on the record. I have met a gentleman. I'm not sure I can actually remember his face, but I've met a gentleman who told me he was the founder of this crime preventers as a volunteer team. And he asked for an opportunity to come and explain that. We'll offer him that opportunity and the other people who do the crime preventers. But just one question before you take it back to Mary Mutesi.
Yes.
Are you as concerned as other Ugandans, especially those in camps that are opposed to your camp, about the role and existence of crime preventers?
No.
Given that clearly, from your own submission and from the submissions of others, they do not fit within any form of structure through which they can be held accountable.
Let me also start from this point. It is very clear that my candidate, Yoweri Museveni, will win this election. And just to put the record clear,
maybe
it's not even on the basis of what they are trying to insinuate. It's on the basis of the ordinary people's support of Uganda. Mobilization, we've done mobilization. The undoings of the two camps. Let me drive this home. Let me drive this home. Because they mentioned about
opportunity after we come out of the break, because pitching for the candidates is an opportunity. Once we have invited you here, we'll give you equal opportunity to pitch for your own candidate. So let's come to that after short commercial. Welcome back to this last segment of the Fourth Estate, and we're discussing the threat of violence in the 2016. It's difficult because we just transitioned from the other year. It's actually in the February 18th elections, no longer the 2016 elections, because we're already in 2016. And we have representatives officially from the different camps of the three front-runners, at least going by the recent opinion polls. All the opinion polls have tended to position the three candidates, the NRM candidate, the Go Forward candidate, and the FDC candidate as the three front-runners, will avail an opportunity to the other candidates and their camps to also make their pitch on the Fourth Estate. We also, as I promised, avail an opportunity to the crime preventers and the structure to explain who exactly they are. I know you dodged the question of their formation and how they fit in the law.
No, it's not dodging, Charles. You know, all the time we've been speaking about institutionalizing things. If I speak for candidate Museveni's campaigns, and I'm speaking for the NRM, I have no business whatsoever to discuss the formation of crime preventers when we know so well that they fall under the Uganda Police Force that has spokespersons and has the IGP.
They don't. You are the lawyer, and Severino is a lawyer. I and Harold are not lawyers.
You're not lawyers. You're studying law, I know that.
But when there is a Uganda Police Force and the process of joining the Uganda Police Force is described clearly in the Police Act, and then you have crime preventers as part of the Uganda Police Force, then some of us who are not as qualified are left lost.
They will explain Charles, if at all you've not listened to their explanation.
Charles, I know how Uganda Police comes into existence. It comes into existence because of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, and the subsidiary legislations, especially the Police Act. If you want to talk about UPDF Act and the regulations that fall thereunder. If you want to talk about the security agencies, they are created by law. It's not an illegal creation. But for the crime preventers, I can tell whoever wants to listen and whoever doesn't want to listen that it is an illegal creation. It has no business getting involved into the life of society whatsoever, whatever the circumstances. They are not part of the community policing. They are not part of Uganda Police. You cannot now say that Uganda Police is an extension of the crime preventers because they are not there is not a single provision under the Police Act. There is not a single law or a regulation anywhere in the laws of Uganda that can create these people. It is just an illegal creation, a militia intended to cause havoc in 2016. Pure and simple. And so, who has the key to stop the violence? NRM, which keeps using them, must stop using it. Because these people live in the communities, they are born in the communities, and whatever they do is known. I don't know, I don't understand.
Let me play devil's advocate for a moment here.
If you could listen a little bit.
I have seen formations before.
He's the host of the show.
I have seen formations before called local defense units. I have seen in eastern Uganda when there was a problem, there was the creation of the Arrow Boys. There was an Amuka Brigade somewhere in Lango. And those were not in the law. Is the crime preventers something related to that?
Just because something illegal has been happening, has been existing, does not make it right to be done, to be repeated. I am not very familiar, although I have heard about those things. I am not very familiar, but I am very alive to the creation of the crime preventers. I can tell you 100 times that it is an illegal creation. It is an illegal militia. Whatever it is doing now is illegal, it is a crime. Actually, they can be comfortably called crime promoters today.
That's what they are.
There is no prevention they are doing, they are just promoting a crime. They are raping women. You saw them having...
You're making allegations without them having an opportunity to defend themselves.
You saw them having bayonets at a rally in Dokoro and in Leptong. We saw them. You saw them in Ntungamo,
Yeah.
what they did. Whatever, that is not crime prevention. It is
I
crime
also saw a lot
promotion.
of them deployed on the eve of New Year around happening places here.
Yes.
I don't know if that was for purposes of the politics going on or for purposes of keeping people safe.
For crime preventers to be called crime preventers for purposes of preventing crime, it must be created by law. There is no law creating it.
Let me come to you before I come back to Mary.
No, the issue of crime, you know, we have been studying crime preventers. After looking at the numbers that make the youth who are unemployed and Ugandans in general over 83%, you see, at every eve of every election, Mr. Museveni designed something that derails people from the real issues. As we are getting to the 2006, they brought these Nigina things of women, so that women start dancing everything, so that they get off the what? The stress. Now when we are getting this election, you know, the youth were actually coming up. Now they keep promising them, you see, now you are near police. Eventually from this level, you get into what? Into police. And when you look at what they train them, because I've interacted with some of them, they're those that you put that kind of poison on their head and never gets into the head. If they tell you, they are taught to actually hate anybody against candidate Museveni.
Harold, let me ask a question. The leader of opposition and the Honorable Odonga Oto are both members of your party.
Exactly.
Mary Mutesi claimed here that they have addressed these crime preventers. Did they give you a report?
For me, what I remember
what
I know that was on record, as you asked her, that place, Kabalie, it is a police training school. I remember the leader of opposition, it was a program, I think it wasn't even in parliament. The leader of opposition was supposed to go there, the speaker and the like. They were addressing police recruits.
And police has not denied that it is recruiting the crime preventers, that they are under the police.
Yeah, as he also, because you know, we are talking to lawyers. They all agree, they are nowhere in the law.
The police,
when you use the word under or below or whatever, because you know, for us in managing, we talk about structures. When you design the structures, at what base do we see the crime preventers? I know, as you remember the SPCs, you had them as
Special Police Constables.
Actually, my sister used to call them police conco, SPCs. So at every eve of the election, they are brought to beef up the NRM. And after elections, they are thrown out. And they are going to cause the problems. As we all agree.
My concern and the topic of discussion for this show was your response as a party. How are you responding to this?
No, our response as a party is, first of all, to talk to them. Because we campaign, this time around, actually we're even seeing the message to Mr. Museveni. We talk to everybody. It is the responsibility of every Ugandan to see that we have peace, including Mr. Museveni. And the good thing is with Uganda, Ugandans love peace. Ugandans love to see progress, to move ahead and get where you want to go. That's why I was actually calling upon my sister Mary to actually tell candidate Museveni, the peace we need, the violence we may have, the person who holds the key to that is candidate Museveni. And if he said that we need peace, you see, the way I know...
Are you suggesting, Harold, that candidate Kiza Besigye and you as the FDC and as candidates yourselves, you don't hold some responsibility?
Our responsibility is, one, we've told Ugandans, do the right thing, mobilize for elections, not for guns. We've told Ugandans that actually try to talk to everybody and give them the message of change. We've actually talked to candidate Museveni and we've told him that don't get scared. Because you see, when you see violence, whenever Museveni is panicking, that is what you see. You see the guns all over the streets. You see the intimidation in his language. You see he's actually, now he becomes the IGP. He addresses people like the IGP. You see him taking the responsibility of the EC. And whatever he says, you see the reactions from the EC, the reaction for the IGP, and you had that time the Army Command, the CDF, also coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Harold, you see, it's very erroneous on your side even to portray my candidate as someone who is panicking. We know what we know. And between me and you, we know what we know. That actually even if anyone wants violence to take place, that person must be Kiza Besigye and your team. because this is what you're preaching.
What was
Charles asked a question, how about defiance? What are you preaching? Between me and you, we know that with your marriage with the civil society, you've been recruiting Ugandans. You started your 10 per village long time ago, last year, and we knew this. We have this information. When we look at the scripts, what we've actually gotten from your people, what you're teaching these P10, these Mwirus, what they are doing in Masese, is preparing people. So actually, if anyone
preparing for
is
what?
Preparing to
what do they teach them? What do we teach them?
Violence against Uganda.
We don't teach them how
You're
to
the people who are believing that you must take power at all costs. And our message to the people is, you cannot take power. You cannot take power at all costs.
Why would the crime preventer
you cannot take power at all costs? And by the way, what I'm failing to understand, Charles, in this debate, can you draw me a nexus between crime preventers and the violence that, for example, happened in Tungamo? Can you draw a nexus between crime preventers that you're actually portraying on this show here with the violence that is going on? Can you justify why there has been a lot of mob justice at your rallies, Kizza Bessege's rallies, if we are to talk about violence? Because I'm bringing our discussion now into containment. Mob justice in Butaleja. Pictures showed how your people mobbed up a young man. And you're the people who are always talking about human rights, restoring the rule of law, and your candidate has never come up. What happened in Muvende here? You lynched a guy almost to death, and your candidate was busy shaking his head like this, and people are clapping, and I'm looking and I'm saying, oh my God, we are in danger. Is this a presidential candidate?
This is a very good lawyer representing a very bad candidate, a very bad client.
Mary, I thought we need to keep a level
of FDC and Kizza Besigye, and you'll agree with me that 90% of your rallies have involved the mob justice from your people putting on t-shirts,
bring very bad wrong numbers.
Yes,
the mathematics is very wrong.
90% in Butaleja, in Mubende. Look at I don't know, Mitiana. All there is mob justice. And they are your people putting on candidates. What mob justice is? It's a representation of violence. Because the candidates, those people are putting on t-shirts in the guise of being security, are busy lynching people.
What happened in Indiana? What happened in Indiana?
Just a moment. Maybe I have a problem with
we are talking about violence.
Maybe I have a problem with the word.
If mob justice
Mary, my understanding of the word
Ugandans is not violence, then I'll leave this show.
My understanding is when you lynch somebody, they actually die. So you can't lynch someone to near death. I don't know. It might be wrong or right. I don't know. But
Charles, I wanted to advise my sister Mutesi to desist from talking about what she doesn't know. She told this audience and the whole world she doesn't know crime preventers. So it would only be prudent she gets the word crime preventers out of her discussion, her language, so that she talks about the things she knows, because it wouldn't be right to talk about what you don't know. That was point number one. Point number two, I do think that Uganda is not a dark room where there is only one source of light, Mutesi and her likes. To take that position is to make a fatal mistake of judgment, because you have seen the trend of things. Violence has been consistently and persistently promoted by supporters of NRM. If they are not your supporters, then dissociate yourself from them, because they are crime preventers. They go carrying bayonets, they go carrying petrol, they go carrying sticks. They are not even well prepared. 2 weeks before Honorable Amama Mbabazi went to Ntungamo, had been dedicated to training those people you saw who were beaten, if that is the word you want to use. They were being trained to make sure that Mbabazi does not enter Ntungamo. When they appeared, they were like an army which is not prepared. They were overwhelmed by the speed and the response, and they were put in the right position. What is very unfortunate is that the police, instead of arresting these principal offenders, because these people who were beaten are the principal offenders. It is like somebody coming to attack you in your house. He comes at night with a panga. You disarm him and cut off his arm. He has no right to complain. So, as a lawyer, these are principal offenders. The police did a very good thing to get them. and he put them in the right place. The next thing they should have done, General Karikiro should have done, was to record a statement and take them to court and ask them what they were doing at the rally of the candidate they don't support. That was the right thing to be done.
Mr. Tuinobusinja, I've heard your camp complain that the police actually went to rescue them with a helicopter, and you're complaining. So you said the police did the right thing to pick them up.
The police went and got them at the scene of crime. It put them together. They were easy to identify. It should have gone to the logical conclusion and take them, record statements, take them to court, and send them to Ruzira. That's where they should be. Not in Mbarara to come and cause violence in Ntungamo and then go to begin now encroaching on the taxpayers getting free medicine. They should never have got it. They should be in Ruzira right now.
What hurts me?
Yes.
You see,
you have a quick response to that?
I love the lawyers of these days. At one moment, they speak about, human rights and all that. Another moment, they are also claiming everyone is supporting them. But also in the time of need, that's when they identify who should actually go to Ruzira and who should not even be helped by the medicine of Ugandans and taxpayers.
The medicine
and you know, this is what we keep on telling Ugandans, and this is my statement, because it's very speaks like this. In other words, it's like they've defined and they've labeled their supporters whom they know that these are our supporters. But I think that the idea of a campaign is that you run convincing even those who don't support you up to the day of the ballot, that you should be able to transform that person into understanding you. And that means that nobody deserves to be beaten. Nobody deserves to die, because if you say they should not be even given medicine, you're sending them to death.
Charles,
and I think that is very unfortunate.
Charles,
I'm trying to give a second meaning of what he mentioned.
Okay. Charles,
and he says they don't deserve even the medicine.
Charles, I was listening very attentively to the submission of my sister. Nobody deserves to be beaten.
Exactly.
I agree with you entirely. So why would you carry a stick to beat anybody? So you see, when you are arguing, be consistent. Argue correctly, consistently to its logical conclusion. Nobody deserves to be beaten. So don't carry sticks to beat people at their own rally. It's a civil action.
No, you see,
yes, Harold. Yes.
The mayor I know is different from the one I have here. I know the person who cares, who minds about others. But with the kind of presentation she's giving, she could be a different mayor I know. She tells lie in broad daylight. I say, wow, you give wrong figures. You don't even say, we are sorry for any kind of eventuality that really happened. No, I'm very shocked. No, I'm really shocked.
Harold,
if actually somebody, when actually somebody joins the NRM, I actually now know what NRM means.
No, Harold,
we are supposed to be bringing the show to an end. We have little time to end the show.
On several forums than this photo.
Exactly.
You know,
the person I know is different from the one I'm seeing here. The truth, but not the truth.
Here has been showing rallies of Kizza Besigye, and they've been reporting of
Dr. Besigye.
Yes.
Address him.
And
of Dr. Besigye.
Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. Yeah, we respect Mzee Besigye. You know, and it has been consistent everywhere. That at every rally there are pockets and pictures of mob justice.
So it's none of you is answering the question. I put the question to Harold and he answered. What are you doing as NRM to make sure that the election is actually held peacefully? You are the party in power.
Yes.
So you have control levers over institutions like the police, the electoral commission, the military, and for lack of a better word, and the crime preventers, because they are part of the, as you said, they are working with the police. What are you doing to make sure that the election is actually peaceful? The statement from your candidate, in Mbale, did not, in my opinion and the opinion of other people I've spoken to, in any way try to allay fears of Ugandans that the state is separately, as the president, is separately trying to make sure that the country holds an election in peace, and the party itself by saying you cannot attack NRM supporters. Some people interpreted that to mean that you are teaching NRM supporters, you're elevating them above everybody else, that they cannot be attacked.
No, you see,
it was not a national message.
Charles, one thing you should know, that on the side of Amama Mbabazi and Kizza Besigye, those two camps, the strategy they've used is actually to prove to Ugandans that we can show you that this guy, this President Yoweri Museveni doesn't have even a grip of the power and cannot even give instructions. That is number one. So the first step when people want to discredit you is to actually encroach on your authority and prove that they are free to do whatever they do and you don't even have power to contain them. As a president, and who is still a serving president until May of this year, had to reassure Ugandans that he
does he equally have responsibility? Does he equally have responsibility when he is a candidate to behave like a candidate at the same level with the other candidates? Instead of saying, I am in charge, so no one else can threaten me, whether as a candidate or anyone else.
Actually, credit goes to him because he's a sitting president.
I can tell you, Charles.
He's a sitting president.
Charles.
But all this is happening, and he's still containing himself as a candidate.
Thank you very much.
Well.
Thank you very much. I'll give you 30 seconds to have your closing statement. I'll come to Mary and come to Harold.
Okay, Charles. First of all, there is a difference between Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the person, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and candidate Yoweri Museveni. So we are dealing with the category of candidate Yoweri Museveni. Candidate Yoweri Museveni is as a candidate like Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye and Honorable Amama Mbabazi and others. To that extent, this candidate has no power whatsoever under our law to direct the arrest of the supporters of another candidate. He doesn't have it. And I'm speaking as a lawyer. I have authority for that. So as the head of state, there are state institutions like the police, the electoral commission and so on. They should be left to do their job. As a candidate, he should stay clear on his campaign. That's point number one. Point number two, I think it is only prudent that the electoral commission styles up and it does its job well. It should stop infuriating the public and inciting violence. And I can give you an example. Whatever has happened, including in Ntungamo, the electoral commission has not been able to do its job. We brought this matter on behalf of candidate Amama Mbabazi that, look, there are problems going on. Can you address them? The chairman electoral commission did not address them. The consequence, just a second, the consequence was what you saw in Ntungamo. And it has continued because by implication, by not acting, it has shown that it is okay, it can continue, including raining on candidate Yoweri Museveni. I think it is important, it is just prudent that the electoral commission does its job. And the police also should stop being partisan. For that reason, we would like to remind General Kale Kihura, for example, to produce AINE. AINE, I can inform the police and the whole world that AINE is in the hands of the police. The other day when we were in Ntungamo, the police put his name on the charge sheet. They removed it on the last hour. When we asked them, they said, we are about to arrest. As a lawyer, I know for sure. You can tell me you are about to arrest somebody, you know where he is. Anyway, he is in their possession. So it is only important that they produce this person. And others they have been arresting because they are the people who are attacked, and the police should be able to come to the defense of those who are attacked.
Thank you. Your closing.
So, Charles, you can appreciate why now on the next show you need a police representative here.
I'll bring police and the electoral commission to speak on their own.
There is a lot to talk about with these guys. But my closing remark number one is to allay the fears of everybody. Yes, there are those who are actually wishing to thrive under conditions of violence for them to make a point. But I believe my candidate, who is still the sitting president of Uganda, and also my candidate, who is going to win this election, is still under control. My message is that we need a peaceful 2016, and the power cannot be taken at any cost, and that cost cannot be people's blood, neither can it be people's bodies at such a time. There is nothing to admire about Burundi, there is nothing to admire about Libya, there is nothing to admire about Egypt, and whoever is mobilizing fellow Ugandans into trying to do rehearsals of such a situation should be actually disregarded, ignored, isolated, and the message should be clear that we are ready to cast a vote, and we are ready to vote the people we believe in.
Thank you. Your last word.
Oh, thank you, Charles. What I can say is the battle we have is, as we were saying, is trying to diffuse, to separate Museveni and the state. the situation where you have a president who is the alpha and the omega, that there is no distinction between where the NRM stops and where the state actually stops, we are going to have problems. I'm only requesting Mr. Museveni and his camp, or even those who talk to him, they must feel for Ugandans and give us the Uganda we want.
Thank you.
They can give us the Uganda we want by respecting the decisions of Ugandans, not try to manipulate them. If they allow Ugandans to make their decisions, we shall have a peaceful Uganda and we shall have a better future.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to all our viewers for joining us. Of course, as the show, we share our condolences with Norbert Mao. He is the President General of the Democratic Party, former chairman of GULU and former member of Parliament who lost his dad earlier today. Our condolences go out to you and to all other Ugandans who have lost dear ones and those who are ailing. From me and the production team of the Fourth Estate, have a good night and a very prosperous and peaceful New Year, and we encourage all Ugandans to go out and exercise your right to vote. Exercise it responsibly, honor it, do not descend into violence. Have a good night.